Hello everyone, thank you for joining us and listening to this video titled Matthew's Tragic Story. This is a story about a father named Matthew Drudge who has been extremely wronged by his own family and the Elkhart County courts. In specific Superior Court 6, there have been numerous reports from mothers and fathers who have had injustice from the courts in Elkhart, Indiana, as well as video interviews from Channel 57's news. Judge David Pinfiglio works with, as well as appointed Mary Rotz, who is unlicensed to be a guardian ad litem. Mary is also completely unsupervised by the Office of Court Services Office of Guardian ad litem/COSA, quoted by Richard T. Payne, an attorney from Indianapolis, Indiana. Matthew's story began back in the early months of 2020 when the mother of his child had taken Alicia Drudge away from him. Matthew and the mother had a discussion about the mother's other child's unethical behavior, who at the time was slinging a grocery bag of cat poop around the house and flinging it in the furniture and floor. The child was asked to scoop the cat litter and instead had other plans. Matthew had asked the mother to tell the child to stop. The mother then shoved Matthew to where he had taken a step back. Matthew told the mother not to shove him. Matthew then raised his voice, asking the child to stop flinging the bag of poop and clean up the mess and proceed with finishing her chore. The mother then punched Matthew in the left of his chest where his heart is located. Matthew took 2 steps back and had to take a minute. The blow from the impact had caused Matthew to pause for a moment. He had felt a dull pain come from his chest. Frustrated, Matthew had put on his jacket and told her he was going to talk to someone getting a burger and soda and will be back to discuss this matter. In the past, Matthew had an accident from his previous job where a full-size truck dumpster had fallen on his back, causing several fractures and breaking pieces of bone from his spine, nearly making it impossible to stand or sit for long periods of time. And Matthew had to take a lower-paying job in his hometown to survive. The mother, knowing this while living with Matthew, continued to ignore his condition and continuously hit and slap him. The mother was taking her anger out on Matthew, confessing to him earlier in their relationship that she is still upset that her last relationship did not work because she abused him as well. Matthew, understanding a woman physically assaulting a man is extremely embarrassing to talk to anyone about, and was hesitant to talk to police about her behavior. Once Matthew had arrived back at his house, he noticed that the mother, her oldest daughter, and the baby Alicia were gone. He realized the mother had taken their baby Alicia and the oldest daughter. Matthew then drives an hour away from his house to talk to the mother and how they together can fix her anger issue disorder. Trying to stay calm, Matthew remembers how the mother's parents, especially the father, was overbearing and liked to be disrespectful himself towards Matthew by walking in Matthew's house with muddy shoes when Matthew asked him to remove them before entering his house multiple times. Hurt by the car ride due to his back injury, Matthew nearly falls getting out of his car. Matthew hobbles towards the front door. The grandfather greets Matthew at the door. Matthew says, "I don't want any trouble from you. I'm here to see my daughter Alicia." The grandfather says, "Good, because there will be no trouble. I'll stop you." Glaring at Matthew, Matthew walks past the grandfather into the house, not responding. There Matthew sees Alicia wrapped tightly in a blanket. Matthew asked to see his daughter, and the mother had slightly opened the blanket to where you could see only the top of her head. Matthew asked if the mother could let him hold his daughter. She said, "I'm sorry, I'm scared." Matthew, "You left your family behind. Why would you do that?" Matthew then says, "You assaulted me. It wasn't the first time. And I was going to talk to someone about that and then talk to you about how you can get the help you need." Matthew asks the mother if she remembers screaming at Alicia when she was hungry and you wanted to sleep, and then you ripped a handful of hair from your scalp and was bleeding. Matthew could feel the mood change in the room after the grandfather had interrupted Matthew. The grandfather says, "I'm tired of telling you to stay in your lane, Matt. This is my granddaughter and things will go accordingly." Matthew speaks up before leaving, also states that their daughter assaulted me and you're siding with her and you won't let me see my daughter. The grandfather screams at Matthew that this is his house and he won't allow me to accuse their daughter, that I need to allow their daughter to be free to express herself and not be oppressed by Matthew. The grandfather states that I need to go home. The grandfather walks past Matthew, holding the door open for Matthew to leave. Matthew looks at the grandfather and says, "And this is insanity?" The grandfather tells Matthew, "It's not. Remember, Matthew, the world will never evolve around you. Mark my words." Matthew walked out onto the front porch steps as the grandfather stepped back, holding the door, while the mother stepped to the entrance of the front door, looking at Matthew, giving him this sad look, and states, "I hope you change," with a slight grin. But Matthew says to the mother, "You do realize that this is bullshit and that you need professional help." The grandfather then steps in front of the mother and points his finger at Matthew's nose, nearly touching him. The grandfather says, "Don't you ever curse in my house again," shoving Matthew to where he almost falls off the steps, wrenching his injured back. Matt regains balance and stands up. Matt yells, "You can't keep Alicia from me forever." The mother shuts the screen door and pretends to call the police, stating that Matthew had assaulted her father and needed help right away. The new woman Matthew had met had become his wife after Matthew's proposal. Matthew's wife had seen what a toll this situation had taken on her new husband. She felt that this was not acceptable for any man to have his child taken away, especially if he had done nothing wrong. Matthew's wife encouraged him not to give up, that there will be a way and that she will help him find it. Matthew was relieved to know that he had someone on his side to help. Without representation, Matthew and his wife were convinced with the provided evidence of all the text messages, proof consisting of parent alienation, as well as proof of supplies and money bribery from the child's mother, a lot of dedicated preparation and organization, over 1,000 pages. They would move on to the courts. Matthew was in hopes that him and his wife's work would not be overseen by Superior Court 6. Matthew picked this specific court because he had heard that Judge Benfiglio doesn't take too kindly to women taking away children from their fathers. Matthew later got a phone call from a Mary Rotz, who stated she was the guardian ad litem. Mary asking Matthew why it took so many months to file for custody, insinuating, "I was late on the matter." Matthew says that he believes that she was sent a massive amount of proof of text messages, pictures of damages to property, bribery from the mother, PPO paperwork filed against the mother's father for assault, and much, much more. Matthew explained that this takes time. Matthew also explained that he was hesitant on filing to see his child because of the previous assaults from the mother and her father. Mary did point out the concerns of the mother's claims without evidence. Matthew had numerous slams from the mother, claiming he had mood swings, erratic behavior, as well as other false information stating Matthew had out of control bad behavior. Mary also put in the GAL report that the father of the mother, the grandfather, was under investigation for child sex practices on his oldest granddaughter by the Indiana State Police Department.